Hey, it's Manu with 22 Sound, your independent record store in Mandeville, Louisiana, right outside of New Orleans. Welcome to our weekly look at the vinyl release highlights. It's kind of our job to stay up to date with what's coming out on vinyl. So every week we like to share what we think are the most noteworthy releases, and as every week we have a little bit of a mix of some bigger names and some that you might have not heard of yet, but you might want to check out. Alright, this week we're starting with a really big name, and if you haven't heard of this guy, then I don't know what's wrong with you. Anyway, it's Ozzy. Ozzy Osbourne is releasing a new album. It's called Patient Number 9. It's his 13th studio album, and we should probably call it Ozzy and Friends. The list of guests here is really impressive. Let's see. Jeff Beck, Eric Clapton, Tony Iommi, Josh Homme, Mike McCready, Chad Smith, Duff McKagan, Rob Trujillo, Taylor Hawkins, and of course Zakk Wylde. It is a who is who of rock music teaming up with Ozzy. I guess when Ozzy calls, nobody says no. Rightfully so. He's a legend. I love this guy, and I love that he's still doing it and still actually releasing new music. So yeah, really curious to see what he came up with, he and his many collaborators. So this is coming out on September 9th, Patient Number 9, Ozzy Osbourne. Next up is Parkway Drive from Australia. It's their 7th studio album and the first one since 2018. It's called Darker Still, and it is supposedly the first concept album. Yeah, concept albums, that is something bands sometimes like to do at a certain stage in their career when they kind of need to come up with something new, something interesting, not just another album. And it can sometimes work out really well for bands. I mean, I'm thinking of Green Day, for instance. I mean, you gotta say, it sounds weird now looking back, but before American Idiot, they were kind of, a lot of people thought they were kind of on their way out or wrote them off, but then they had this massive comeback. It really helped them to kind of have that overlaying concept. Of course, this is a very different band, very different sound, very different level of fame. But still, who knows, this sometimes can really bring out some creativity in bands. It's a very dark album. Well, with the album title, no surprise, but judging by the singles that we've heard so far, and they're oftentimes labeled metalcore, which I guess is true, but there's definitely a lot of traces of traditional metal in here too, kind of more old schooly metal, sometimes even on some of the singles a little bit of a power metal feel in certain spots. Parkway Drive, Darker Still. Next up is Built to Spill with their new album When the Wind Forgets Your Name. It's their first album in 7 years, actually. Indie rock band from the 90s, so if you liked indie rock during that time, Built to Spill, definitely one of the big names of that era in that genre. That kind of fussed out, but yet really melodic indie rock, and it's their first album on Sub Pop, actually. A really cool video to the first single, Gonna Lose. You should check that out on YouTube or wherever you watch your videos. It's a cool animated, kind of trippy video, and yeah, it really goes great with that song. It's Built to Spill with their new album. Alright, we had a lot of really established acts right now, so we want to give a little time to a band that's pretty new, hasn't been around for very long. It is a metal band from Texas called I Am, and their 3rd album is coming out. It's called Eternal Steel, which is, would say, the most metal album name there can possibly be. It's like they found that in the Metal 101 book. We're like, yeah, let's go with it. Anyway, they're a really cool band. It's kind of a mix of death metal, thrash metal, hardcore, has like kind of the great elements of those genres, a lot of great riffing, good aggression, it's heavy, it's fast, and this is really a band on their way up here. And so if you like riffs, fast, heavy riffs, good bit of aggression, then yeah, check them out. It might be a band that you really like from a neighboring state in Texas, I Am. Then we have a band from Sweden here. They're called Crashdiet, and if you like 80s sleaze rock, you should really check them out if you haven't heard of them yet. They started out in the mid 2000s, and it's really an example of a band kind of had, well, wrong time. But the timing just didn't really work out. In 2005 they released their debut album Rest in Sleaze, and I always say this is the best 80s rock album not released in the 80s. It is absolutely fantastic. Kind of like that the sleazier, the grittier end of the 80s rock spectrum. Skid Row, Motley Crue, Rat. If you don't like those kind of bands, then you should definitely check them out. I loved their first album when it first came out. Then, well, they really had some, well, bad luck. I don't know if that's the right way to put it. Pretty tragic history. Their lead singer of that first album, called Dave Leppard. Yeah, that was his stage name, Dave Leppard. Amazing stage name. You have to love this band. Anyway, he committed suicide at only 25, right after that first album. But they moved on. They came back, and they kept recording really great records over time. This new album that came out earlier this year is now finally getting a nice US vinyl release too. Really cool band, one that I think should have been much bigger, but yeah, timing is a big thing in the music world for sure. Crashdiet. Alright, and then last but not least, we have a nice little fun one for you. It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. Yeah, they did this last year, I think many times before, but they're doing a new pumpkin-shaped version of this in translucent orange vinyl. It was a pretty popular title last year here, and I'm sure it will be again this year. And well, I'm from Switzerland, so I didn't really grow up with Halloween. But that's one of the things I truly embraced when I came here. Can't wait. And well, if you're from, I guess, the southern side of the country, you probably can't wait for summer to end either. My God, it's so hot here. So just hearing about Halloween kind of refreshes me, cools me down a little bit. It's just such a nice holiday, and kind of the start of the holiday season. And so this is really cool. I love when they do those cool little things like this pumpkin-shaped vinyl. It's just a fun thing to have. So just wanted to give you a heads up. You might want to get it before it's all sold out, because these days, of course, you don't know how long you can get certain things and when they're going to get repressed, and if that's going to happen in time, especially with holiday-themed stuff. All right. Well, of course, this was, as always, just a little snapshot of the many releases of the week. If you want to see the full picture, go to our website, 22soundrecords.com. You can pre-order all those records right there. You can pre-order records further away in the future, of course, and of course also the stuff that's already out. Thousands of records for you to find there, and you support an independent record store in the process, which is a great thing too. All right, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Really appreciate you watching us. Hope to see you next week.